make yourselves at home. Zhang Yi, you and my nephew Deng Shintong are considered to be acquainted, so if you don't mind, you can call me Uncle Deng. Zhang Yi was a little surprised. Uncle Deng Yuanbo immediately drew close to Zhang Yi. It looked like Yang Xinxin had been right, he was trying to win Zhang Yi over. Zhang Yi smiled and nodded, reaching out to shake hands. After all, you shouldn't be rude to someone who is smiling at you. Uncle Deng Yuanbo was old enough that it wouldn't be a loss to call him uncle. Uncle Deng. Hearing Zhang Yi's call, the smile on Uncle Deng Yuanbo's face grew even wider. Good, since you called me Uncle Deng today, I won't let you call me that for nothing. He gave a wink of the eye. Soon, a beautiful woman wearing a traditional Chinese dress came over to Zhang Yi, holding a tray. On the tray was a brown box. This is a gift to welcome you. I hope you don't mind, Deng Yuanbo said with a smile. Oh, and as for these two young ladies, there are also gifts for them later. Deng Yuanbo's attitude was straightforward, almost unbearably obvious in his attempt to win Zhang Yi over. Zhang Yi remained on his guard. If someone is too eager to help, they're either a scoundrel or a thief. Well, that sounds a bit insulting. Let's just say they're not interested in helping without a good reason. Still, he was curious as to what the gift was. After all, he didn't feel like he was lacking anything at the moment. So he asked, Uncle Deng, what is this? Deng Yuanbo could see the skepticism in Zhang Yi's eyes. However, his expression was somewhat playful. Poor boy, you've been suffering for more than half a year outside, and you haven't had an easy life. The thing inside, he pointed his finger at the brown box, can save you half a year of hard work on improving your strength. Zhang Yi's expression suddenly froze. Lian Yu and Yang Xinxin also looked serious. It can improve my strength? Zhang Yi looked at Uncle Deng Yuanbo in disbelief. But Uncle Deng Yuanbo laughed and said, but do you think that the only way for a mutant to improve their strength is to devour the origin of others? Zhang Yi nodded with a smile, that's right. Deng Yuanbo smirked proudly. In theory, this is indeed the case. But this method is no different from the way beasts feed. The biggest difference between us humans and beasts is that we know how to use tools. This thing is called X compound, and it can only be produced by our Deng family. After using it, it can quickly enhance the strength of mutants. Zhang Yi nodded thoughtfully. I understand. This is why Blizzard City has a large population of elite mutants, even though the city itself is not very large, isn't it? Deng Yuanbo couldn't help but feel emotional. Yes. There are countless talented people in the world, so how could they all gather in Blizzard City? It's just that once the potential of the mutants here are discovered, they will be given the best resources to cultivate, which makes them very powerful. Perhaps there have been mutants around you who were no weaker than the captain of the investigation squad. However, before they could awaken their supernatural powers, they died in various disasters. Zhang Yi nodded and couldn't help but sigh, it really is important to be born in a good place. Although he appeared calm, Zhang Yi's thoughts were still on the X compound. He pinched his chin, Uncle Deng, how much can this thing enhance a person's strength? Nowadays, Zhang Yi has hit a bottleneck in his strength. He has absorbed the cutting-edge Delta-level mutant from Eclipse Moon, but the improvement has been minimal. Therefore, he is also very skeptical about the efficacy of this compound. Deng Yuanbo smiled and said, let me put it this way, you know Deng Shintong, right? He was able to quickly grow to his current strength thanks to this very thing. A look of shock suddenly flashed in Zhang Yi's eyes. Deng Shintong? The strength of a captain of the investigation squad was also obtained through drugs? But would this drug have the same side effects as the one Bian Zhenghui used? Deng Yuanbo could see that Zhang Yi had some reservations. He said, in fact, the effect of this drug is the same as the ability of between you mutants. It's just that we used scientific methods to extract the source of supernatural power, so that you can absorb it better. Zhang Yi muttered to himself, never trusting others easily. Not to mention that this was the first time he had met Deng Yuanbo. This is really too much of a generous gift, Uncle Deng, I dare not accept it. Zhang Yi smiled and declined. Who knew if this thing had any toxins, and if he used it, what if the Deng family took control of him? Deng Yuanbo nodded. You are cautious, and that is a good thing. If you weren't, you probably wouldn't have survived in the dangerous outer city area and achieved what you have today. Pointing at the box of X compound, he said in a calm but commanding tone, I rarely give gifts, and no one has ever refused a gift from me. This is just a token of my appreciation, and I, Uncle Deng Yuanbo, am not someone who would ask someone to do something in return for a gift. Hearing what Uncle Deng Yuanbo said, Zhang Yi would be rude to refuse again. He nodded, then I thank Uncle Deng for his kindness. Zhang Yi took the silver box and stored it in his own dimensional space. Only then did Uncle Deng Yuanbo nod in satisfaction. Well, you've come a long way, so I'm sure you're hungry. Let's eat. Lianchen clapped his hands, and immediately a dozen maids fluttered over, golden trays in hand, and soon the table was full. The food was very plentiful, and Deng Manor had their own cooks and stocked ingredients. Therefore, the food on the table all looked particularly appetizing. Zhang Yi was also unceremonious, and picked up the chopsticks and ate. However, after a few bites, he noticed that the ingredients were not fresh. But when you think about it, it's understandable. No matter how powerful the Deng family was, they could not enjoy a lot of luxurious fresh food in the end times. In this regard, Zhang Yi was much better off than they were. During the meal, Deng Yuanbo did not talk about other things. He did not speak while eating or while sleeping. He was a person who had strict requirements for the quality of life. It was not until after the meal was finished and the servants had cleaned up the dishes that Deng Yuanbo called Zhang Yi into the study next to him. Yang Xinqin and Liang Yu were invited by Lianqing to the adjacent lounge. When Zhang Yi arrived in the study, after a few polite words, Uncle Deng got straight to the point. Zhang Yi, you have no connections in Blizzard City. If you want to gain a foothold in the Jiangnan region, you must achieve something. Commander Zhu wants you to be the leader of the Tengu squad. Why are you refusing? Deng Yuanbo's words sounded like he was lobbying for Zhu Zheng. But Zhang Yi couldn't read his mind, so he said, I'm used to being free and don't like being controlled. If I become the captain, doesn't that mean I have to do whatever the higher-ups tell me to do in the future? Deng Yuanbo smiled, but even if you were in Tianhai City, could you disobey Blizzard City's orders? Zhang Yi laughed meaningfully, at the very least, there is room for flexibility. It's impossible to refuse openly, but it's okay to ignore it secretly, right? Blizzard City cannot possibly manage the Jiangnan Guardians with an iron fist. At the very least, they will not be forced to do things. Otherwise, the entire region will collapse. Deng Yuanbo raised an eyebrow. These young people nowadays are just like you. They don't care about fame or fortune, as long as they can lie back and relax. They don't even want the chance to lead. He sighed. Well, the times have really changed. Zhang Yi smiled. Indeed, it's different from your era. So please understand my choice. Deng Yuanbo shook his head. I don't really care about that. How about this, I'll let you be the temporary captain, will that be acceptable to you? Temporary captain? Zhang Yi repeated the words, looking carefree, and didn't say anything more. Isn't that the person who temporarily leads the team and bears the responsibility? What's in it for me after the mission is over? Deng Yuanbo walked over to him and smiled, making you the captain is the result of many people's discussions. Your laid-back and non-ambitious personality is very much appreciated by everyone. Don't worry, as long as you do this, you won't be left empty-handed. I will offer you a deal you won't be able to refuse. Zhang Yi's eyes lit up. Oh? Deng Yuanbo said leisurely, you outsiders from the city have no concept of supernatural abilities. Apart from relying on talent, the only way to advance step by step is to grope around blindly. This will make you take a lot of detours, and even waste your natural talents for nothing. And our Deng group has been researching the supernatural for more than 50 years. Zhang Yi's eyes flashed, half a century of history. Did mutants exist long ago? Deng Yuanbo said, mutations are inherently a part of the evolutionary process of living things. Given the huge human population, mutants have appeared in every era. It's just that now, it's an era of large-scale mutation, so it's become widely known. Of course, in the past, the study of mutants was for the development of drugs and military use. To be honest, this research has made the Deng Group a lot of money. He smiled and looked at Zhang Yi. We have a mature team that can help you and your companions around you enhance your powers, develop your potential, and provide the best training. Now you are indeed very strong, but you still have a lot of room for improvement. Not to mention the people around you. Now, it's hard for them to keep up with you, isn't it? Zhang Yi had no way to refute these words. The gap in talent had made the gap in strength within their team increasingly obvious. However, Zhang Yi still didn't want to easily believe Deng Yuanbo. I don't understand. Why are you helping me? To put it bluntly, if you want me to become the Deng family's lackey and do as you command, then I can't do it. Who knew that after hearing these words, Deng Yuanbo laughed with his neck tilted back. Ha ha ha. Of course I wouldn't have such a thought. Even Zhu Zheng's use of the position of captain of the investigation squad couldn't attract you, and I wouldn't presume that the Deng family could offer a higher condition. Zhang Yi was even more confused. Then, what is in it for you that makes you want to help me like this? The smile on Deng Yuanbo's face slowly faded. He was lost in thought, and then slowly turned his back and looked out into the courtyard at the falling snow. Zhang Yi waited for his reply. After a full minute, Zhang Yi's patience was running out, and Deng Yuanbo finally spoke in a deep voice, I'm helping you to avenge my nephew. Zhang Yi immediately thought of Deng Shintong, a strange but handsome and confident man with whom he had not exchanged many words. Deng Shintong's death was unexpected. As the head of the Deng family, Deng Yuanbo could not accept this cruel truth either. Avenge? I don't need you to tell me that. I will kill everyone from Eclipse Moon, Zhang Yi said slowly. Unexpectedly, Deng Yuanbo shook his head. The person who killed my nephew, Eclipse Moon, is only a sword. The real culprit must be in Blizzard City. Zhang Yi's heart was shocked. Although he had suspected this as well, hearing it from the mouth of such a big shot as Deng Yuanbo, the possibility was even greater. People from Blizzard City killed Deng Shintong? Zhang Yi didn't know how to comment. This matter itself had nothing to do with him, and he didn't want to get involved in the power struggle in Blizzard City. Deng Yuanbo's eyes were full of gloom. My nephew was exceptionally talented and intelligent from a young age. After the end of the world, with the full cultivation of the Deng family, he became one of the strongest mutants in the Jiangnan region. His future held unlimited promise, and he could have become the most brilliant figure of his era. But inevitably, some people became jealous of him. Deng Yuanbo looked back and looked at Zhang Yi. Someone borrowed Eclipse Moon's sword and caused his death. Zhang Yi frowned slightly. If you know who did it, why don't you go find Commander Zhu? With the power of the Deng family, even if the other party is a master of the investigation squad level, they can still eliminate them, right? Deng Yuanbo said, I'm not sure who did it yet. But I can narrow it down. Whoever benefits the most from the death of the immortal is the prime suspect. Deng Yuanbo did not name anyone. However, Zhang Yi was deeply shocked by his words. Not going to find Zhu Jing meant that he probably didn't even trust Zhu Jing. After all, Zhu Jing might also want to consolidate his power and eliminate the sharp-witted Deng Shintong. And the other forces in Blizzard City, not to mention it. Tu Yunlai, the Reincarnation Squad, or other factions in Blizzard City, could all be the masterminds behind this operation.